Hello everyone and welcome to day 6 of the anniversary 10 buff breakdowns. So today we have the first of the 5-star casters and a double caster because we also have a 2-star caster buff. The 2-star caster buff was an easy prediction. That went to Shakespeare in the form of a skill buff because I really doubted they were going to buff Hans or Chen Gong, so this was fairly easy to predict. Not to mention he got his animation update with this too, so yay for Shakespeare enjoyers. But then the 5-star caster buff is not something I predicted, nor is it surprising regardless, though I think it's a fairly deserved buff. It's an MP buff to Summer Nero, Umu if you will, which is a bit surprising to me, but again, not entirely surprising. So let's start by talking about Summer Umu and see what's up. So her MP previously is an AoE buster with 5 hits on it, and before damage she got 1 turn of Invul Pierce for herself, and then on base overcharge she gets 20% MP damage for 1 turn, scaling all the way up to 60%, and then the damage. Pretty standard MP, but honestly, for a damaging MP, it's not bad. Like, effects-wise, it's not terrible. Both of the effects besides damage are nice. The MP damage is just always nice to have, and then when you're DPSing with her, sometimes that Invul Pierce will come in clutch. So, I never really hated the MP. Obviously never did insane damage, but among the AoE casters, she was doing fairly okay for damage. So let's see what they changed. So everything that I just listed remains the same, okay? Both the Invul Pierce and the MP damage on the overcharge remain unaffected, which is fine, I guess. So they're the same. But then we do have some new lines. First of all, she now gets 50% anti-beast attribute damage for 1 turn. And then also 50% anti-threat to humanity damage for 1 turn. Pretty interesting. And then after the MP does damage, it also gives the party 10% gauge flat, including herself of course, so it's a bit more refund there. And then you of course have the standard damage upgrade to the MP itself with the buff. The power mods are an interesting choice. I assume it's because it's an Umu of course, so we have that beast stuff going on, so it's not super crazy to me. And obviously with the beast thingy, the threat to humanity also kind of makes sense because I would assume they mostly overlap when it comes to beast enemies. So if you are actually fighting a beast, that's 100% power mod for 1 turn. So that's a lot. So in that case, you would actually see a lot of damage from her. Even as with an AoE MP, that would actually be a significant boost. And it also obviously works with her face cards on the turn as well for the follow-up, because these are 1 turn buffs. Interesting. I think it's an interesting buff, but it's going to be a bit harder to apply everywhere. Obviously for farming, this will not have the biggest impact. I mean, it will obviously improve her farming as well, because the MP does get a damage upgrade with this buff, so that alone is just a boost to her farming numbers. But the 10% battery, I don't think that's going to change her comp at all. She has the standard 50% battery on a 6-turn cooldown besides that for any kind of battery, so I don't think that's going to really improve her setup. Do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong or if you come up with something else. But for DPSing, it is nice to have because it does make it easier for her to spam her own MP. And obviously, it charges your allies as well. So if you have some cool support MPs or whatever, that would be nice to use that might not be that easy to use normally. Hey, that just helps there too. And obviously the power mods are going to be more relevant for DPSing because I don't think there's very often enemies in farming that are beast attribute or threat to humanity traits. So yeah, you're mostly going to find this in bosses. Granted, even on those, they are semi-rare, especially the beast attribute. Threat to humanity I think is a bit more common, but also not a very common trait, I want to say. But again, like I was saying, the MP was already kind of fine for effects. It didn't really need a huge buff. So the fact that they did add 3 new lines on top of the damage boost, it's pretty cool. Honestly, a buff like this, I'm kind of happy with, honestly, because the MP does a lot now. A lot of this stuff is niche, yes, but there's also a lot of, stuff that always works there. So I think it's, I kind of like this buff, honestly, even if it's not maybe a game changer. So on the tier list this year for golden casters, we had her already on an A tier, which, I don't know, maybe it was already kinda on the more generous side, but with this, I might just still leave her there. I'm not sure. Maybe she should be an A+, but for now, I think I might just keep her in A. But I think there's definitely room to be moving her up to A+ as well. So do let me know in the comments how you feel about Summer Umu now after this buff. Now let's talk about the low star buff in Mr. William Shakespeare. Let's go. So it's a buff to his second skill. So previously in a 6-turn cooldown, he got an invul for 1 turn and then healed himself for 1500. And that was it. Much like the name implies, it is literally all about self-preservation. It did nothing for your allies, just a defensive skill for himself, which was kind of on the weaker side, but I guess not the worst when it comes to defensive skills. But let's see what they did. So now on the same 6-turn cooldown, he still gets the 1-turn invul for himself only, but hey, that 1500 heal I just mentioned, that's now party-wide, so everyone gets that 1500 heal. Pretty cool. And then we have 2 new lines. All your teammates, including himself, now get 10% MP gauge. Nice. And then everyone in the party also gets 20% MP damage for 3 turns, which can help himself too, as he does have a damaging MP, but if I had to guess, this is definitely mostly a support upgrade here. So now on a 6-turn cooldown, especially for a bronze servant, that's a pretty good skill. Especially nicer for support, because you would have to sacrifice his only hard defense skill here. So he might still be very vulnerable, but again, it does offer a decent chunk of supporting. That on top of him already having a targeted 20% battery with some 1-turn star gen boost on it as well, and being able to do a party-wide 40% buster up for 1 turn. There is stuff here. There is definitely stuff here. Now, is this stuff enough to make him suddenly see play, even on esports environments? Using those scuffed copies for sacrifice purposes? I'm not sure. I guess the good thing is that you don't really need his MP, because it is kind of hard to get, especially because you probably don't want to use the 20% battery on himself. So you can kind of disregard the MP and just stick with his skills. And in that, there is actually something, there is stuff here now that maybe there are some scenarios where you could consider bringing him, especially on budget comps. But outside of budget stuff, I'm not sure if this is anything like enough still to warrant bringing him. 30% for 1 ally with some buster up and MP damage is not bad by any means, but we have a lot of accessible supports nowadays, so I'm not sure if he's still gonna make the cut, but it is a nice buff regardless. This skill is looking very, very solid now overall. So on the low star tier list this year that had the cavalry classes, including casters, we had him on a flat D tier, and he's definitely at least worth I'm gonna move him to C+. We'll start with that. Let me know down in the comments if you can already think of nice uses for Shakespeare. He doesn't really have any niches to cover, so it's all just generic stuff, which is why I'm still a bit hesitant to give him any higher rating than that. Maybe that's already semi-highish to begin with, but yeah, much deserved buff. It's a good buff regardless as well, so I'm not really going to complain about it. And with on top of the animation update, Shakespeare fans are definitely having a field day. So tomorrow it's all gonna end with day 7, and yes, we have another 5-star caster, and with that we also have a 3-star berserker. I think the berserker buff, there's not many 3-star berserkers, but 2 of them being Kyo and Mori, I don't see super likely, so I think it's gonna be a tussle between Lubu and Darius. But I will give the small edge to Darius because of him getting the animation update. Although, keep in mind, Lubu still to this day has 0 buffs. And his second skill especially is a skill that some other servants have had buffed as well, like Fergus for instance. So I almost want to say my main prediction would be Lubu, but because of the animation update on Darius, I'm gonna slightly lean towards him instead. 5-star caster, I already mentioned my predictions for them yesterday. Umu actually wasn't one of them, but I'm still gonna stick with my prediction. I don't think it's gonna be a support. Would I like to see a support though? Yes, for instance, Tamamo, Crane, Scotty, if they really want to go crazy. I would not mind, honestly, even if they're already very stellar and totally fine as is. But my prediction is going to be either Scheherazade or Ilya for the final buff. I'm going to give a slight edge to Ilya because she has 2 bad skills in my opinion. Scheherazade only has 1 skill that's not buffed yet, which is an AoE anti-mail charm, which is why I was thinking it could be her because of the Matahari treatment. But I'm going to give it a slight edge to Ilya tomorrow, and we'll see what's up. It is the last day, so they could do a spicy exit, so who knows. But I don't think supports are getting buffed, but I would love to be proven wrong. So there you go, that's day 6 wrapped up, and man, what a train of content it has been. But yeah, tomorrow we're still back for that final day. And of course, they also announced the summer event for next Wednesday, so even though daily buffs are gonna end for a while, there could be more buffs in that event, and of course you're gonna see videos of me covering so many summer servants. So a lot of first impressions on the horizon as well. If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid and press the thumbs up button on it, of course, it really helps out, and do subscribe not to miss out on future videos like I mentioned those upcoming videos just now. Shout out to my patrons on the screen right now, and Suit for being a big YouTube tier member supporter, and with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you tomorrow on day 7 of the buff breakdowns. See you then, bye bye.